Stop. Just stop for a second. Before you do anything else right now, before you skip ahead, before you check your phone, before you let your brain wander to whatever is on your to-do list, I need you to feel something with me. Close your eyes if you can. And tell me honestly, is there someone in your life right now who you have been giving the benefit of the doubt to? Someone you have been making excuses for in your own head? Someone whose behavior has been leaving this small, uncomfortable residue in your chest that you keep pushing down because the alternative of actually believing what you are starting to suspect is too much to sit with right now? Yeah, that person, that situation, that thing you have been avoiding fully looking at. That is exactly what today is about. And I have to warn you before we go any further, this reading is not going to be gentle. It is going to be honest. And sometimes, honest and gentle cannot exist in the same space at the same time. So if you came here today looking for something soft, something reassuring, something that is going to make the uncomfortable thing feel less uncomfortable, this might not be that. But if you came here because something in you is ready to stop pretending, if something in you is tired of carrying a weight that was never yours to carry in the first place, if some part of you already knows the truth and just needs someone to say it out loud so you can finally stop running from it, then sit down. Because Spirit has been waiting to say this to you for a while. Okay, so I want to tell you something about the last week of my life before we get into this. Because I feel like where I am personally is directly connected to why this reading came through the way it did. And I am not going to dress it up or make it neat, because it was not neat. It was messy and uncomfortable, and it taught me something that I think is genuinely relevant to what you are going through right now. I found something out last week. Not in a dramatic way. Not in the way it happens in movies where someone confesses or gets caught red-handed in some cinematic moment. It was quieter than that. It was just information, landing in front of me in a way I was not looking for. The kind of finding out that happens when you are not even trying to find anything because you have convinced yourself there is nothing to find. And then suddenly, there it is, just sitting there. Undeniable, and you know what the strangest part was? It was not the shock that got me. It was the recognition. That moment of, oh, I already knew this. My body already knew this. Some part of me has been knowing this for weeks, maybe longer, and has been working overtime to keep that knowledge from becoming conscious. Because conscious knowledge requires action. And action is terrifying when you genuinely care about someone or something. I sat with that for a few days. Not productively. Not in a journaling, processing my feelings, coming to healthy conclusions kind of way. More in a staring at the ceiling, not answering my phone, eating things I probably should not kind of way. And at some point it was late, I was tired, I had my cards next to me the way I always do, even when I am not intending to use them, I just started shuffling. No intention, no question, just my hands moving, and my mind finally quiet enough after days of noise to actually hear something. And what came through was not for me, it was for you. So specifically for you that it pulled me straight out of my own stuff and sat me right here in front of this camera. And here we are. So let me tell you what Spirit showed me. And I want you to really listen this time, not half listen while you scroll. Actually, listen. Because this one matters. The first thing, and it landed with this very specific heaviness that I want to try to describe accurately, is this image of you knowing something. Not suspecting. Knowing, your body knowing, your gut knowing. That deep in the stomach certainty that exists several floors below your rational mind and has been trying to send messages up through the elevator for weeks, and the messages keep getting intercepted somewhere between the basement and the penthouse by the part of you that is not ready to deal with the implications. Does that feel familiar? Because it should. Because this is where you are right now. You are in the middle of that gap between what you know and what you have allowed yourself to fully acknowledge knowing. And that gap is one of the most exhausting places a human being can live. Because you are doing double work. You are managing reality and managing your own knowledge of reality simultaneously. You are keeping a secret from yourself. And that takes so much energy, so much more energy than just knowing, than just letting yourself stand in the truth of what you have already figured out. And here is what Spirit wants you to understand about that gap. The reason you have been living in it is not weakness. I want to be really clear about that because I think a lot of people in this situation start to turn against themselves, start to feel stupid or naive, or like they should have known sooner, or acted sooner, or been more guarded. None of that is true. The reason you have been sitting in that gap is because you are someone who loves deeply and cares genuinely, and does not take the dismantling of things you believed in lightly. You gave someone the benefit of the doubt, because that is what decent people do. You looked for alternative explanations because you did not want to believe the worst about someone you cared about. That is not a character flaw. That is actually one of the most human things about you. And it is going to be important to hold on to that understanding of yourself in the days ahead. Comment right now, and I genuinely want to see this type. I already know if your gut has been trying to tell you something for a while that your head keeps arguing against. Because I have a feeling the comments on this one are going to say a lot. And I want to see you down there. Now let me talk about this person. And I am going to describe them in a way that might feel a little uncomfortable. Because the truth of who they are is not the version of them you have been presented with. There is a gap between those two things, between the version they show you and the version that actually exists. And that gap is what this entire reading is about. This is someone who is skilled. And I mean that in a very specific way. Skilled at presenting. Skilled at knowing what to say and when to say it. Skilled at reading what you need to hear and delivering it in a way that feels genuine, because they have had practice at making it feel genuine. They are not a cartoon villain. They are not mustache twirling, obviously. They are charming. They are probably someone that other people in your life like, maybe even someone that the people around you have vouched for or expressed positive things about. And that has been part of what has made this so confusing for you. Because when the person everyone else seems to think is great starts making you feel like something is off, the easiest thing in the world is to decide that the problem must be you. But it is not you. Just want to say that plainly before anything else. The thing that has been making you feel like something is off, that is accurate information. That is your system working correctly. That is your discernment operating at full capacity and delivering reliable data. The problem is not you. This person has been performing. Not entirely. I want to be careful here because nothing is ever entirely performance. There are probably real feelings somewhere in the mix. Real moments that were genuine. Real flickers of something authentic that came through in between the parts that were not. And that is actually part of what makes this so hard. Because if it were all fake, it would be easier. It would be cleaner. You could just point to the obvious falseness and walk away. But when it is mixed, when there is something real threaded through something that is not the whole thing, becomes this impossible knot that you keep trying to untangle, and every time you think you have found the end of the thread, it loops back into itself. Let me be more specific about what the cards are showing me, because I think you need detail right now, and not just generalizations. There are things this person has not been telling you. Not one thing things, plural. A pattern of selective information. A consistent gap between what they share with you and what is actually happening in their world. And it is not the kind of omission that comes from being a private person or from not being ready to share something yet. It is the kind of omission that has a purpose. The kind that is maintained deliberately because certain truths being known by you would change things, would change how you see them, would change what you are willing to give. And they have been making a calculation consciously or semi-consciously that keeping you slightly in the dark serves them better than full transparency would. And here is the thing that Spirit was very clear about. You are closer to knowing the full picture than they realize. The information is coming. Maybe it is already trickling in. Maybe there have been moments recently where something did not add up and you filed it away under probably nothing and moved on. But it was not nothing. None of it was nothing. And those pieces that you have been collecting and setting aside, they are going to form a complete picture soon. And when they do it, is going to be one of those moments of everything making sense simultaneously. And it is not going to feel good, but it is going to feel true. And on the other side of that moment is something really important. Something really important for you personally, not just in terms of this situation, but in terms of you, who you are, what you will and will not accept, how you move in the world after this. Because this is one of those experiences that people look back on later and identify as a turning point, not because of what was done to them, but because of who they became in the aftermath. And I can see very clearly in this reading that who you are going to become in the aftermath of this truth is someone extraordinary, someone who trusts differently, but not less, someone who loves differently, but not less, someone who moves through the world with a kind of quiet authority that only comes from having navigated something like this and chosen deliberately, intentionally chosen not to let it make you smaller. Type something in the comments right now. Type turning point if you can feel that this season, as uncomfortable as it is building something in you. Even if you cannot see the full shape of it yet. Even if right now it just feels like pain. Type it. Because I want to see who is watching this, and I want to acknowledge what you are in the middle of. Now let me talk about the silence. Because there is going to be a silence between you and this person at some point very soon. Maybe there already is, and you are sitting in it right now wondering what it means. Maybe it is coming that moment when the conversation just stops, when the explanations run out, when even the performance cannot sustain itself any further, because the truth has gotten too close to the surface to keep submerged. And I want to prepare you for what that silence is going to feel like. Because I think knowing in advance makes it at least marginally less disorienting when you are standing in the middle of it. It is going to feel like grief at first, even if this person was not who you thought they were, even if what you had was not what you believed it to be. The loss of the version of them you loved, the version you constructed from the real parts and the performed parts without knowing which was which, that loss is real. And you are going to feel it. And I want you to let yourself feel it rather than immediately trying to skip to the anger or the strength or the moving on. Because the grief is where the real processing happens. The grief is actually where you get to reclaim the parts of yourself you gave to this situation. Let me talk about what you gave. Because you gave a lot, and I think you need to hear that acknowledged plainly. You gave your time. You gave your attention and your energy and your care in very real, very tangible ways. You gave this person access to parts of yourself that you do not open easily, parts of your thinking and your feeling and your inner world that most people do not get to see. You gave them the benefit of the doubt repeatedly, even when your intuition was sending you signals that something was not right. And you did all of that not because you were foolish or naive, but because you are someone who shows up fully when you care. You do not do things halfway. You do not give people half of your trust or half of your presence. You go all the way in. And that is a beautiful quality. And it is also a quality that certain people take advantage of, precisely because it is so rare and so complete that it feels almost limitless to them. But here is the other side of that, the part that this reading is really trying to get you to. That fullness of presence that you bring to the things and people you invest in, it has a flip side. When you find out that the investment was made in something that was not what it presented itself as, when the truth reveals that the thing you went all the way in on was not actually the thing it appeared to be, that same completeness that you brought to the giving now gets to go into the leaving. You do not do things halfway, which means when you decide you are done, when you have the full picture, and you make the decision that comes from that place, you are going to be done in that same complete, thorough, no going back way. And this person does not fully understand yet what that looks like. They do not know the version of you that exists on the other side of a truth they hoped you would never find out. They are about to find out. Okay, I need to pause here. because I want to say something, and I want to say it directly. I know that some of you watching this are in the middle of something right now that is genuinely painful. I know that some of you came to this reading not as a curious observer, but as someone who is actually in it, who is actually sitting with the weight of a situation that has been draining them, who has been waking up in the middle of the night with this low-grade anxiety that they cannot fully explain even to themselves, who has been going through the motions of their days while carrying something heavy in the background that they have not been able to put down. I see you, not in a performative way, actually, because I have been there. I was there very recently. And I know that in those moments, what you sometimes need more than anything is not advice, not instructions, not a list of steps to follow. What you need is just someone to acknowledge that what you are carrying is real, that it is heavy, that you are not being dramatic or sensitive or making something out of nothing, that your instincts are correct and your feelings are valid, and you are not crazy for sensing something that has not been fully confirmed yet. You are not crazy. You are not being dramatic. You are not making something out of nothing. What you are sensing is real, and it is being confirmed today. Take a breath, seriously, right now. Before we go any further, take a real breath, because what comes next is the part where we talk about what is actually happening and what it means for you. The truth that is coming, and Spirit was very specific that it is coming. Not that it might come or could come, but that it is coming is going to arrive in a way you were not expecting. Not through a confrontation, not through someone deciding to come clean because their conscience got the better of them. It is going to come through the universe just arranging things. The way the universe does when something needs to be known. It has a way of making information available, of putting you in the right place at the right time, of having things surface through channels that seemed unrelated to the situation until suddenly they were very related to the situation. And when it arrives, you are going to have a moment of total stillness. Before the emotions come, before the processing begins, there is going to be this brief, crystalline moment of just stillness, where everything is completely clear and you are standing in the truth of what you now know. And in that moment, you are going to feel something that is hard to describe, something that is not quite relief and not quite devastation, but somehow both and neither simultaneously. That moment is important. That moment is the turning point. And I want you to remember, when you are standing in it, that it was always coming, that it was always meant to find you, that you were always going to get here. Now, let me talk about what happens after, because I think this is actually the most important part of this entire reading, and I do not want to rush past it. After the truth lands, after the stillness, after the first wave of whatever emotions are going to come, and they will come, there is no bypassing them. They are going to be there, and you are going to have to move through them rather than around them. Something is going to shift in you. Something fundamental. And I want to describe it as accurately as I can, because I think knowing it is coming helps you not be afraid of it when it arrives. You are going to feel your own power differently, not in an arrogant or aggressive way, in a quiet way, in the way that happens when you stop giving something enormous amounts of your energy and suddenly that energy is just available, returned to you, yours again. And you are going to feel the weight of what you were carrying and realize that you were carrying it for a situation that was not worthy of the weight you were giving it. And in that realization, there is going to be something that feels almost like anger, not at the person, or not only at the person, but at yourself for having been in something that asked more of you than it deserved, for having made yourself smaller or quieter or more accommodating than your actual self is, for having spent any amount of your energy maintaining something that was not real. And that anger, let me say this clearly, that anger is healthy. It is appropriate. It is your system working correctly. It is the part of you that knows your worth asserting itself after a period of being talked out of fully claiming it. Do not suppress it. Do not apologize for it. Do not rush to the forgiveness before you have actually sat inside the anger long enough to understand what it is telling you about what you deserve and what you will not be accepting in the future. Because here is what Spirit showed me about who you are on the other side of this. And this is the part I want you to really hold on to. The version of you that exists after this truth lands after you have moved through the grief and the anger and the disorientation of having the ground shift under you. That version of you is extraordinary. And I do not say that as a comfort or a platitude. I say it because it was genuinely one of the clearest things Spirit showed me throughout this entire reading. The person who navigates something like this, who finds out the truth, who feels the full weight of it, who chooses not to let it close them off, or make them bitter, or shrink their capacity to trust and love, and engage fully with the world, that person carries something that most people never develop. A kind of discernment that was only available through this specific type of experience. A groundedness that comes from having had something real stripped away and discovering that you are still standing, still whole, still you. You are still going to be you on the other side of this. Maybe more you than you have been in a while, because you will not be carrying something that was asking you to be less than yourself in order to maintain it. Let me say something about this person now, because it needs to be said, and I want to say it without venom, because I do not think venom serves you here. This person is not going to process what happens the way you might expect them to. When the truth comes out, when they realize that you know, their response is not going to be the response you would have if the situation were reversed. They are not going to sit in the discomfort of their own accountability the way you sat in the discomfort of not knowing. They are going to manage it. They are going to spin it. They are going to find ways to reframe what happened that make them the least culpable version of the protagonist in the story. That is who they are. And understanding that in advance is going to save you a significant amount of energy that you might otherwise spend waiting for a response or an acknowledgement or an apology that is not going to come in the form you deserve. That does not mean you do not deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. It means they are not capable of giving it in the way you need. And sometimes that is the most clarifying information of all, not what someone did, but what they are incapable of doing in response to it. Your silence after this, you're choosing not to engage, not to explain, not to give them the opportunity to perform remorse or spin a narrative or try to rewrite what happened. That silence is going to be one of the most powerful things you have ever done, and they are not going to know what to do with it. They are used to people needing things from them, used to people wanting closure or explanation or resolution. They are not prepared for someone who simply knows and closes the door and walks away in the direction of their own life without looking back to see what kind of expression is on the face of the person they leave behind. That is what is available to you here. That level of clean, that level of done. And it is not going to be easy, but it is going to feel right. And the rightness of it, that specific feeling of having honored yourself, is going to stay with you long after the difficulty of the situation has faded. Type clean exit in the comments if you are ready for that. If something in you has been building toward a decision that this reading just helped clarify, I want to see you down there. Now let me talk about your spiritual protection, because it was enormously present in this reading, and it is directly connected to why this truth is arriving when it is and how it is arriving. You are protected. Not in a vague general sense, but specifically, actively, presently protected. Your ancestors, whatever that means for you, whatever tradition you come from or do not come from, are working in your life right now in very practical ways. The information that is coming to you is not accidental. It is not coincidence. It is not just luck that things are arranging themselves in a way that makes the truth visible. Something is working on your behalf. Something has decided that you have been in the dark long enough, and that it is time for you to have what you need to make the decision that serves your highest good. And your highest good spirit was very explicit about this. This is not staying in something that requires you to not fully know the truth in order to function. Your highest good is not a connection that depends on your ignorance for its maintenance. Your highest good is something real, something honest, something that can survive full light, full knowledge, full transparency, full showing up as exactly who both people are without anything hidden in the corners. And what you have right now is not that. And what is coming to you on the other side of this, after you move through what needs to be moved through, is something that is going to feel so different from this that you are eventually going to understand why this had to happen first, why you had to go through this specific thing in order to be fully ready for what comes next. I also need to address something that has been coming up for you around self-blame, because Spirit flagged it specifically, and I think it is important enough to name directly. You have been, at least in some of your private moments, turning the situation toward yourself, asking what you did wrong, wondering if you were too open or too trusting or too something, questioning whether your judgment is reliable, whether your discernment can be trusted, whether there is something about you that attracted this or enabled it or failed to prevent it. And I want to sit with you in that question for a moment rather than just dismissing it, because I think you deserve more than a dismissal. The honest answer is no. This is not about a flaw in you. It is not about being too trusting or too open or too anything. What it is about is someone making choices. Their choices. Choices they made about how to engage with you, what to show you, what to withhold, what to allow you to believe. Those were their choices. And no level of discernment or guardedness on your part was going to completely prevent someone from making choices you were not made aware of. You can only work with the information you have access to. And they controlled what information you had access to. That is not your failure. That is their choice. What I will say is this: there will be things you learn from this. Not about being more suspicious or more guarded, because I do not think that is the direction your soul is meant to grow in, but about what honesty actually looks and feels like when it is real. About the difference between someone who is comfortable being fully seen and someone who always has an angle they are managing. About what it feels like in your body when something is genuinely aligned versus when something requires you to perform a kind of willful not seeing in order to stay comfortable. Those are the lessons, and they are valuable. And you are going to carry them forward in a way that makes you more attuned, not less open. Let me talk about what your life looks like after this, because I think you need something to look toward, something to hold in front of you when the heaviness of the immediate situation is pressing down. After this, and after the processing that needs to happen around it, something opens. A space that was previously occupied by something that was not really what it presented itself as is now available for something real. And real is what is coming. Not immediately, not tomorrow, but in a timeline that is closer than it might feel from where you are standing right now. Something is building in your life in multiple areas simultaneously. Financially, something is shifting. I keep seeing this across different readings for this collective, and it is consistent enough that I have to name it specifically. Something is changing in the material conditions of your life. An opportunity, a door, something that redirects resources in your direction. And part of what has been slowing that down or making it harder to fully arrive is the energy you have been spending on this situation. Energy that has been leaking, draining out through a relationship that was taking more than it was giving, and using up capacity that belongs to you and your growth and your purposes. When this situation resolves, when the truth lands, and you make the decision that follows from it, you are going to feel an energy returning to you that you did not realize was missing until it comes back. A creativity, a clarity, a motivation, a sense of forward movement that has been sluggish or stalled or just heavy in a way you could not entirely account for. And that return of energy is going to go directly into the things that are meant to grow in your life, the things you have been building, the direction you have been trying to move in. It is going to accelerate, not because the pain will be gone, but because you will no longer be giving any of your resources to something that was consuming without contributing. And in love, in terms of what is coming relationally after this, I want to describe it carefully because I do not want to give you something that just sounds good. I want to give you something true. What is coming relationally is honest. That is the most fundamental thing I can say about it. Honest in a way that this situation was not. Someone who does not require you to look away from anything in order to feel safe in what you have with them. Someone whose private life and public life are the same life. Someone for whom transparency is not a sacrifice or an effort, but just the natural way they exist. And when you encounter that, after having gone through this, the contrast is going to feel profound. The ease of being with someone who does not require you to manage your own knowledge is going to feel like breathing deeply for the first time in a long time. That is what is on the other side of this. Final messages from Spirit. These are specific, and I want to give each of them room. First, the truth is already on its way to you, and you do not need to go looking for it. This is important. Do not start digging frantically. Do not go through phones or ask mutual people or manufacture situations to extract information. The truth is coming to you organically. The universe has already set the mechanism in motion. Your job right now is to stay open to receiving information that presents itself rather than going on an expedition to find it. There is a difference. One drains you and puts you in a position of chasing. The other allows you to receive from a place of stillness. Trust the stillness. Second, your reaction when it arrives matters more than you might think. Not in terms of performing the right reaction for this person or for anyone watching. In terms of what you do for yourself in that moment. Before you respond to anyone, before you send any messages or make any calls or process it out loud with anyone else. Take a moment to just be with what you know. Let it settle in your body. Let it be real. Because the decision that comes from that settled place is going to be the right one. Whereas the decision that comes from the immediate emotional reaction, even if it is a completely justified emotional reaction, might not be the one that serves you best in the long run. Third, you are not going to lose yourself in this. That was a concern coming through this worry that the impact of this truth is going to take something from you permanently, that it is going to damage your capacity to trust or to love or to open up. And Spirit was very clear in correcting that. You are not going to lose yourself. You might lose your version of this person. You might lose the relationship as you understood it. You might lose a period of your life that had meaning to you. But you, the core of who you are, the warmth and the depth and the capacity for genuine connection that makes you who you are, that does not go anywhere. It might go quiet for a minute while you heal, but it does not leave. It comes back, usually stronger, usually more refined, usually more precisely directed toward the things and people that actually deserve it. Fourth, the people around you who have had doubts about this person or the situation that they have not fully expressed to you are going to show up for you when this happens. Not in an I told you so way, or if they do approach it that way, let yourself be a little forgiving of that, because their version of caring sometimes looks like needing to have been right. But the people who actually love you are going to be there. Allow them to be there. Receive it. You do not have to go through this processing alone, and you do not have to perform strength that you do not currently have. Let people love you through this. Fifth, what you invested in this situation was not wasted, even though it might feel that way. Everything you poured in the care, the attention, the trust, the love, all of that came from the best parts of who you are. And those parts are still fully intact. That investment was not wasted, because the qualities you expressed in making it are the qualities you are going to take into the next thing. The difference is that the next thing is going to be worthy of them, and you are going to be more equipped to recognize what worthy looks like because of what you are learning right now about what it does not look like. Sixth, there is going to come a moment, weeks or months from now, not immediately, where you look back at this period and you understand it fully. where you can see clearly why it happened when it did, and what it was building in you, and what it was clearing out of your path. And in that moment, you are going to feel something that is close to gratitude. Not for the deception, not for the pain, but for the clarity. For what the truth gave you access to. For what became possible once you stopped giving your energy to something that was not real. Seventh and final, the person you are becoming through this is someone you are going to be proud of. I want to say that plainly, not as comfort, as fact. The version of you that walks through this truth, processes it honestly, makes the decision that honors you, and moves forward without bitterness and without armor, but with clear eyes and a full heart, that person is extraordinary. That person carries something that only exists on the other side of exactly this kind of experience. And everyone who encounters you after this is going to feel the difference, even if they cannot name what they are responding to. There is a quality that develops in people who have been through the thing and chosen to remain themselves anyway. You can feel it when you are around it. It is real. And it is yours now. You already know. You have already known for a while. And very soon, what you know is going to be confirmed. And when it is, when the last piece lands and the full picture is finally just there, visible and undeniable, I want you to remember this moment. This moment right now of having been told that you were right to trust what you felt, right to sense what you sensed, right to sit in that discomfort rather than explaining it away one more time. You were right. You are right. And what comes next on the other side of the truth is something so much more aligned with who you actually are than what you have been holding on to. Let it come. Let the truth come. And then let yourself go. Drop a comment below and tell me what part of this hit you hardest today. Tell me what you are sitting with right now. Tell me where you are in this. I read every single comment, and I want to know. This community and what gets shared down there in the comments is genuinely one of the things that keeps me doing this work. So talk to me. I am listening. Take care of yourselves. The truth is coming, and you are ready for it, even if it does not feel that way right now.